She lay in the dirt, trembling, her body weak, but her eyes never wavered. Every growl, every breath, was a fight to protect the tiny lives hidden beneath her. No food, no shelter, no hope, yet she refused to give up. This is the heartbreaking story of a mother's unbreakable love. The call came early that morning. Locals had reported strange growling sounds near an abandoned construction site on the edge of town. When the rescue team arrived, the air was heavy with silence, broken only by the soft rustle of wind sweeping through piles of dry dirt and rusted metal. The place looked forgotten, a wasteland where no life should have remained. As they carefully made their way across the uneven ground, one of the rescuers froze. "There," she whispered, pointing toward a patch of disturbed soil near an old ditch. Standing in the middle of it was a dog, thin, trembling, but fierce. Her fur was dirty and tangled, her ribs visible beneath the skin. Yet her eyes burned with something powerful: protection. The moment they took a step closer, she growled, a deep, warning sound that echoed through the empty lot. The rescuers stopped immediately, their hearts pounding. It wasn't just fear they saw in her stance. It was desperation. She wasn't guarding herself. She was guarding something behind her. Then they heard it, a faint, fragile whimper from the dirt mound behind her. The rescuers exchanged a glance. She wasn't alone. There were puppies, and they were in trouble. The rescuers knew they had to be careful. Every time they took a step forward, the mother dog's growl deepened, her lips curling to reveal teeth worn from hunger and struggle. Her body trembled, but she stood firm, a living shield between danger and the tiny lives hidden behind her. One rescuer knelt down, lowering her voice. "It's okay, girl. We're not here to hurt you," she whispered, holding out a piece of food. The dog's eyes flicked between the stranger's hand and her puppy's, torn between instinct and exhaustion. Her paws dug into the dirt, her tail stiff with tension. She wouldn't let anyone near. Not yet. The wind carried a faint sound, soft, pitiful cries. The puppies were too weak to move much, their tiny bodies barely visible in the shadows. It broke the rescuers' hearts, but they couldn't rush in. One wrong move, and the terrified mother might attack, or worse, flee and abandon them. As minutes passed, the rescuers realized something remarkable. This wasn't aggression born from cruelty. It was love, raw and desperate. Every snarl, every bark, every trembling stand was a mother's vow. "No one will touch my babies until I know they're safe," from a distance. The rescuers could now see the puppies clearly, three tiny bodies huddled together in a shallow hole. Their fur was caked with mud, their eyes half closed from exhaustion. One let out a weak whimper, barely strong enough to be heard. The sight was devastating. The mother dog turned anxiously, licking her babies before snapping her gaze back to the rescuers, as if to say, "Stay away." But they could also see the truth. Her body was frail, her movements sluggish. She hadn't eaten properly in days. Milk had almost dried up. If help didn't come soon, she and her puppies wouldn't survive another night. The rescuers exchanged silent glances. Time was running out. They couldn't just stand there and watch. Somehow, they had to reach her, not through force, but through trust. It was a fragile gamble, one that would decide whether this little family lived or died. The rescuers decided to change their approach. Instead of closing in, one of them, a woman with calm, steady eyes, sat down several feet away from the mother dog. She didn't speak at first. She simply placed a small bowl of food on the ground, then folded her hands in her lap and waited. Minutes turned into hours. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the barren ground. The mother dog never took her eyes off the stranger, her body tense, her muscles ready to spring. But hunger gnawed at her resolve. She sniffed the air, the scent of food stirring something stronger than fear. The rescuer spoke softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe. Eat if you need to." Slowly, hesitantly, the dog crept forward, one paw, then another. Her growl softened to a low rumble. Finally, she reached the food, snatched a bite, and jumped back. But she didn't run. For the first time, she allowed the rescuer to stay close while she ate. It wasn't trust, not yet, but it was a beginning. And in that fragile moment, hope flickered to life between them, a silent promise that help was coming. By dawn, the air had turned cool and quiet. The rescuer returned to the site with fresh food and a soft blanket. The mother dog was still there, watchful but calmer. Her eyes no longer burned with pure fear. They now held something else. Curiosity, maybe even recognition. The rescuer knelt slowly, keeping her movements gentle. "Good morning, Mama," she whispered, her tone warm and steady. She placed the food closer this time, then waited. The mother sniffed the air again, her tail twitching nervously. After a tense pause, she stepped forward and began to eat, glancing up between every bite. When she finished, the rescuer extended her hand, palm open. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the dog let out a trembling sigh and inched closer. She sniffed the rescuer's hand, then, finally, pressed her nose against it. The rescuers moved in quietly, lifting the tiny puppies one by one from the dirt. The mother tensed but didn't attack. Instead, she whimpered softly, as if surrendering to the realization that these people meant no harm. When they gently picked her up last, she didn't resist. She only looked back toward the empty ditch, her battle finally over. She and her babies were safe. The rescue van rumbled softly as it pulled away from the abandoned site. Inside, the mother dog lay curled in a clean blanket, her body trembling, not from fear this time, but from exhaustion. Her puppies, nestled against her belly, whimpered softly, their tiny paws twitching as they drifted in and out of sleep. That a rescuer sat beside them, speaking gently. "You're safe now, Mama. No more cold nights, no more hunger." The words seemed to reach her. The dog lifted her head weakly, her eyes meeting the rescuers for the first time without fear. As the van sped toward the shelter. Warm sunlight filtered through the window, casting a golden glow over the small family. The mother's breathing steadied. For the first time in a long while, she closed her eyes, not to guard, but to rest. She finally knew her fight was over. The first few days at the shelter were quiet. The mother dog barely moved from her corner, her body wrapped protectively around her puppies. Every sudden noise made her flinch. The rescuers gave her space, leaving food and water nearby, speaking softly whenever they passed. Trust, they knew, couldn't be rushed. Slowly, something began to change. On the third day, she lifted her head when one of the rescuers entered. By the fifth, she wagged her tail, just once, hesitant but real. And when the rescuer knelt down and offered her a treat, the mother took it gently from her hand. Her puppies grew stronger each day, tumbling over one another with tiny barks that filled the room with life. The mother watched them, her eyes soft and full of pride. One afternoon, as the rescuer cleaned their pen, the mother dog did something unexpected. She walked over and pressed her nose to the woman's hand, licking it once before resting her head on her lap. For the rescuers, that single gesture said everything. The fear was gone. The pain had faded. All that remained was gratitude and hope for a new beginning. Weeks passed, and the transformation was nothing short of miraculous. The once starved mother now had a soft shine in her fur and warmth in her eyes. Her puppies, full of life and mischief, chased each other across the shelter floor, tiny tails wagging like ribbons in the sunlight. When the rescue center shared their story online, messages poured in from people moved by the mother's courage. Families offered to adopt them, touched by the bond that had survived so much pain. On adoption day, the rescuer knelt beside the mother one last time. "You did it, Mama," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You kept your babies safe." The dog pressed her head against the woman's chest, a silent goodbye filled with love and understanding. As the family walked away together, the rescuer smiled through tears. This wasn't the end. It was a beautiful new beginning. This brave mama showed the world what unconditional love truly means. Even when she was starving, scared, and alone, she never stopped fighting for her babies. Her story reminds us that compassion saves lives, one act of kindness at a time. If this touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe for more real rescues.